How can we argue without losing it? This is what I want to talk about today and help you to work out how we can not only prevent the feelings that explode into an argument, but when we start to feel them, how we can disperse them. And then when they get to absolute breaking point, how we can communicate what we really mean without completely flying off the handle and causing so much stress and making things far worse than they were before we had the argument. So this year, I don't need to tell you, it's been very, very difficult. Christmas is often a time of tension and arguments anyway, whether we want to or not. This year, with financial troubles and COVID, it's tense. It's tense. People are on edge, and it's no wonder that arguments are more likely to happen when we are feeling tense because it feels uncomfortable. It's not nice to feel stressed. And unless we can learn how to cope with that feeling of stress and feel it consciously and allow it to pass through us, often we want to project it onto someone else. We want to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling and pass it on. And that's often why arguments happen. So I'm going to give you my 5 top tips for arguing without completely losing it. And the first one is prevention. So a lot of my clients' arguments start off because of resentment. Mums tend to carry a lot of resentment and anger and frustration towards their partners and often their kids because we're just holding so much, and often we don't ask for help and then we allow it to overtake us and then we go into collapse or overwhelm. So the first point I want to talk about is prevention. How can we prevent ourselves from feeling overwhelmed or resentful? Self-care. So by self-care, I mean microdosing tiny amounts of self-care throughout the day, not waiting until you're completely burnt out and had completely enough and need to go and spend a whole day in the spa. What we want to do is try and microdose our way through the day with little pockets of self-care. And by that, I mean things that make us feel good, things that make us feel calm, things that just turn that dial one notch from feeling to maybe just a little bit less. Not necessarily Buddha Zen. We're not aiming for, guru enlightenment here. We're aiming for one notch less than how you feel right now. So what could that be? That could be nature. Just looking out of the window, looking at some trees, looking at the grass in your garden if you have one. If you can't see any trees out of your window, going to the park if you can, finding an open space. Anywhere where you can be in contact with nature and allow it to inspire you. It has been there for centuries. It's such a kind of obvious thing. Of course, trees have been there for a lot longer than us, but just kind of noticing that and allowing yourself to feel, wow, that tree, what has that tree lived through? Going to the sea if you can, or anything that puts you in contact that something is more impermeable than you. Is that the right word? Or permeable? Something that is longer lasting than you, something that has been there for longer than you. And it just puts things in perspective. Or you could move your body a little bit. Moving your body helps feelings to move through them. So moving your body, putting on your favorite tune, doing anything that helps you to take you out of your day-to-day stresses and makes you feel better. So nature, moving your body, or perhaps going for a walk, or just doing nothing, allowing yourself 5 minutes to lie down, sit on a park bench. 5 minutes where you don't have your to-do list whirring through your brain. 5 minutes of doing absolutely nothing. If you can try and do that throughout your day, every day, so in total it would take 5 minutes, it's not very much, it's not a big percentage of your day, then that will just help keep your overwhelm and resentment at bay. Sometimes the resentment carries on building up for whatever reason. So if it does, the second point is to notice it doing so. So not just to go, I'm getting annoyed, I'm getting more resentful, and going into your mental movie theater that your ego creates, some little story about how you're the victim, or some story about how someone else has been bad to you, or whatever that story is. We want to move out the story and we want to come into our bodies. We want to come into our bodies and feel that resentment. What does that resentment feel like? Where is it in your body? Where do you feel it? Is it a spiky ball of hot energy? Is it a dull aching pain in your shoulder? Is it a knot in your stomach that's making you feel sick? Where is that resentment or anger? What does it feel like in your body? Second, can you focus on it? Focus on it without any stories, without any distractions, and notice it dispersing. So feel it. Where is it in your body? What does it feel like? And then focusing on it and allowing it to disperse, allowing that energy to dissolve, imagining it dissolving. This might not happen straight away, but it will happen over time. So give yourself that time. Focus on the feeling, remembering that when you focus on the feeling, you're becoming the observer of it. So it's not taking you over. So if you feel anger or resentment, just by focusing on it, you are keeping alive that part of your brain that can focus on it, that can be the observer. So you have already separated yourself from it. And then you can start to say, I have resentment in me, rather than I feel so resentful. So already you're taking that step back. So step one, self-care, so that you don't allow that feeling to build up too much. Number two, when it does start to build up, noticing it, feeling it. Number three, if it's got to breaking point and you just feel like you are about to explode, before you do so, write it out. Write out what you want to say to this person that is making you angry. Journaling out. I am feeling so angry. I am feeling so resentful. You have done this. You have done that. This is not okay. I am not okay with it. Whatever it is, write it out first. Or move your body. Or scream and shout it out. Or hit something. Hit a pillow. My favorite thing is hitting a pillow against the corner of a wall. So satisfying. The noise it makes just helps. So all of these things are things that you can do to help move this kind of what I call charge, this energetic charge out of you, because you don't want to be having a conversation with the person that's annoyed you with that in you, because if you're carrying that charge, you will just explode and you will probably say things that you don't mean because you are so angry. So we want to get rid of that charge. It doesn't mean that you're getting rid of what you want to say, not at all. It means you're condensing it, you're whittling it down to its essence. So journaling it out first, getting rid of that feeling that makes your cheeks flush and your chest tighten. We're getting rid of that feeling by journaling it out, by bashing a pillow against a wall, by hitting a tree with a stick, whatever it is that helps you to get rid of that. And then you are in a position to be able to express your needs and ask for what it is to be fixed that is the source of so much anger, resentment, whatever it is that you're feeling. Lastly, when you are going to talk to this person and express what it is that you're feeling, try and understand what the real thing is that you're feeling. Not the thing that has annoyed you, not the fact that your husband hasn't picked up his dirty laundry from the floor for the millionth time, not the fact that your kids have not finished their food and they're playing with it instead of eating it. Whatever it is, that's the surface level thing. What is it that is making you feel underneath? What is the self-belief that is uncomfortable, that it has triggered, that it has stirred up in you? For example, if the kids are not doing what you say and you're having to shout over and over again like a robot, what is that making you feel? Yes, it's making you feel angry and resentment, but what's underneath that? Are you feeling invisible? Are you feeling worthless? Are you feeling unlovable? These are the core feelings that whatever is happening on the outside are poking at. And that's why they're so painful, because they're self-beliefs that you have probably carried around since childhood for whatever reason, because that is when we start to form the beliefs about ourselves. And that's why it's very painful that the triggers in our everyday level poke at these beliefs, and these are what we need to heal. So if you're going to speak to somebody about what's bothering you, work out first. That's your responsibility. What is it that's being triggered? And then you can talk to them about it. Last point, number 5, when you talk to them about it, speak from this place, that place of vulnerability, of understanding that that's the bit of you that is hurting, that you feel worthless, that you feel vulnerable, that you feel invisible, rather than that, oh my God, you've done the same thing again, I've told you about it a million times. Very different energy between that and the I'm feeling really unlovable and it's because of this. Can you support me? These are my needs. This is what would make me feel amazing. See the difference? So, quick recap. Number one, arguments are going to happen. They're going to happen because we're normal human beings. We're not Buddhist monks. So when they happen, we want to try and manage them. How can we manage them? Number one, prevent them. Prevent the resentment, the anger, the build-up. And we can do that by microdosing self-care throughout the day. Number two, when that feeling does start to rise up in you, instead of fueling it, instead of adding fuel to that fire with the stories that your ego is going to give you, because the ego loves drama, that's what it loves to do, try and put that to one side. Notice the feelings instead. Oh, I'm feeling really angry now. I'm really angry. What does it feel like? Oh, feels like a tightness in my chest. Yeah, it's a tightness here and it feels kind of spiky and hot, and I'm going to focus on it and I'm going to breathe into it and I'm going to try and imagine it dispersing. That's number two. Number three, when it is building up more and more, how can you get rid of it? How can you get rid of it? How can you move your body? How can you hit something? How can you scream? How can you shout? You want to get rid of that charge before you bring it to the person that is annoying you. Number four, what is the self-belief that it is triggering, that it is poking? What is it that really hurts underneath the anger or the resentment or the frustration? And it will be something painful. So do the work. Do the work. That's the inner work. And that is your duty to do that rather than just projecting anger onto someone else. That doesn't help and it just makes things worse. So do the work. What is it? Do you feel worthless? Do you feel unlovable? Do you feel invisible? All of these things that a lot of us feel, they're in there. They're underneath the anger. So dig underneath. What is it that is really going on? And lastly, number five, when you go to that person, your husband, your child, your colleague, whoever it is that has provoked this uncomfortable feeling, talk from that place. I am feeling unlovable. It's difficult. It is very vulnerable and it's kind of cringy speaking from that place because we're not used to it. But that is the place where you create connection from. And that is how to create an argument that builds on your relationship, that creates connection rather than one that creates yet more tension. So constructive arguments is the way forward. They're going to happen, so make them worthwhile. Make them arguments that are going to take you forwards in your relationship, that are going to help you to get to know yourself better, rather than ones which are just going to leave you feeling guilty and ashamed and rubbish. No brainer, right? So I really hope that's helpful. Please call on that throughout this holiday season. I hope it's an amazing one for you, and I hope that all your dreams are realized, and if there's any tension, you know how to deal with it. Deep breath. So if you want any more tips or tools, I've got lots more vlogs and blogs on my website, that's my old website, laviniabrown.com, in the blog section. Lots of love, mamas. You can do this. We're all in this together, and I am rooting for you.